I loved the Barbie movie, but my primary gripe with it is that it is incredibly strange to tackle patriarchy, but completely not tackle racism, fat phobia, all of these other intricate systems that are like inexorably, is that the right word? Linked to patriarchy. And I get it. It's like I've read all of the discourse. I get it. Like anytime someone says something like this, you're like, oh, you can't just let people be happy. Like, I loved this movie. I love these actors. I'm so happy for them. I'm so happy for them. I think it's a great achievement. This movie's much more, leftist leaning than much of the mainstream cinema. I think that's wonderful. I think that's incredible. That's awesome. But it's like when the whole world is watching and you have the opportunity of a lifetime, it's strange to me that you push the envelope just a teeny bit. Like, this is like the least radical form of feminism, right? Like, this is white feminism. That being said, white feminism is still much more feminism than most mainstream movies have. And the discussions had here, I think, sparked a lot of things for a lot of people, which is incredible. And I love that people are thinking more complexly about patriarchy and the impact that it has on their lives. And I get also that primarily this is a movie about dolls. It's like a children's movie. Is it a children's movie? I feel like most people watching it are adults. That's beside the point. So I get that this movie doesn't have to bear the weight of all of the social responsibility of like all of the worlds, etc. Like, I get that. But if we're opening the conversation to what could this movie have done better and what could movies like this do better going forward, it is an intersectionality, because a politic without intersectionality is just erasure. And while they do acknowledge some things, like I think even calling her stereotypical Barbie alludes to the Eurocentric beauty standard that an actress as stunningly gorgeous as Margot Robbie benefits from, a beauty standard that oppresses many people who don't have the, symmetry of face that she does. But to not have those conversations, to not even offer a chance to talk about how exclusion goes beyond just being a woman. People are excluded for disabilities. People are excluded for their body types. And just having one token representative character does not have that conversation for you. Just because you have a trans actress who is playing a cisgendered female role, that doesn't mean suddenly the movie is like having difficult conversations about how exclusionary white feminism is to trans people, especially trans women of color. That being said, I can obviously acknowledge that such a win to have a trans actress in that role, and seeing just how much farther we've gone with a movie like this than movies even 2015, 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, you watch some of the comedies from 10 years ago and they're absolutely offensive. It's crazy. So my thoughts with Barbie is that it was a great film. I'm happy it exists. I think it's headed in the right direction, but it really feels like just a first step. And I think everyone involved is incredibly talented. I think it deserves to be getting lots of praise because it's a great film. It's very engaging, wonderful, but it is not radical. It's just not. It's a very lovely introductory course to a predominantly white feminist politic that is a good place to start, but I think for a lot of leftists, a lot of liberals, a lot of people who have an intersectionality to their politic, they were perhaps hoping for a little more depth. But that being said, I can't even imagine how difficult it was to get the studio to approve some of these topics, especially because studio heads are incredibly focused on making movies as widely marketable as possible. And so talking about feminism, talking about patriarchy, talking about gender imbalance, talking about all of these things obviously is going to be difficult in and of itself. And in my mind, I'm living in the reality that they tried to go even further with this film, but this is just where the studio made them land, and that in future installments in the Mattel universe, we're going to get a little bit more intersectionality and slowly move towards a more honest discussion about how some of these systematic factors function.